Hey guys, what's up? Brandon here, and today I thought I would bring you some Tribes Ascend Arena mode here on this new arena map that was released in the most recent patch called Walden. Now the nice thing about this map compared to the first two arena maps that were released is that it's much harder to fall to your death here on this map. You're not suspended over a pool of lava, you're not way up in the air, so you don't have to worry as much about falling and getting shot off the platform and not being able to get back. So I think this is my favorite arena map yet. It's a pretty good size. There are a few nooks and crannies that you can hide, but it's not so big that you'll lose the other team. So I'd like to see Hi-Rez making more of these maps where you're not so concerned about falling. You can focus on the actual gameplay as opposed to worrying about whether or not you have enough energy to make it to the platform before you fall. So enough about this new map, let's talk about the Infiltrator, which got some new updates this past week in the Cloak and Dagger update, as it's called. So I'm guessing that Hi-Rez is looking to release these class updates over time, as Team Fortress 2 has done over the years, to try and keep the game fresh, keep people spending their XP and gold on these new class items. And I think that's good. I think this will keep the game fresh and interesting. But I think where Hi-Rez, and frankly any multiplayer game developer has to be careful, is around gameplay balance when releasing updates like these. So 3 items for one class is going to cause a shift in gameplay balance. Perhaps for the better, because maybe the class was slightly underpowered compared to the rest, but sometimes also for the worse. Maybe the class was already somewhat powerful, and now it's just even that much more versatile. So there are 2 examples of games that really stand out to me as having some similarities to Tribes Ascend in regard to these class updates. And those 2 games are Team Fortress 2 and World of Warcraft. Now those are 2 very different games, obviously, a first-person shooter on one hand and an MMORPG on the other. But the way that they've gone about class updates in the past has actually been somewhat similar. They've visited one class at a time, thinking of new items, talents, abilities, changes to make the class more appealing and more versatile, and kind of give it a fresh coat of paint, if you will. The challenge is that oftentimes updates like these can cause a revolving flavor of the month situation, where every time a class gets updated, you see an uptick in people playing that class because of its newfound power. And so until all of the classes have received their updates, that gameplay balance is constantly shifting as new items are being introduced. And I think you have to be especially careful with this when you're looking to create a competitive title, like Hi-Rez is looking to do with Tribes Ascend. Now when you look at the longtime mainstays in esports in the first-person shooter genre, like Quake and Counter-Strike for instance, these are games that have gone essentially unchanged for years. And as a result of that, the top-level players exhibit an amount of skill that is just incredible, because they've been able to hone their skills over time with the same rule set, the same physics, the same items, the same overall gameplay balance. And so I don't know that we'll ever see Tribes players able to reach the pinnacle of their skill level as you see in games like Quake and Counter-Strike, because they're going to have to adapt to the reality that is an ever-evolving free-to-play game. And so I think it'll be interesting to see how Hi-Rez plans on handling this reality over the long term, and addressing the gameplay balance concerns of the competitive scene, while also developing new content and trying to keep the revenue flowing in so that they can keep the lights on. Now it seems like their short-term solution for this is simply the implementation of private servers and accompanying server flags. And so from that, Hi-Rez is looking to create a competitive rule set, a standard set of server flags to be used in competitive matches. And already we're seeing some potentially game-changing alterations coming forth. We're talking about changes like no tactical or orbital strikes, greatly increased vehicle costs, friendly fire on, no automatic generator respawn, and perhaps the biggest change of all, naked spawning, which no one has really gotten to test as of yet. So when you look at all of these changes individually, it may not look like such a large departure from the tribes that you're playing in public servers today. But when you look at all of the changes taken together, it starts to look like an entirely separate version of the game. So I don't know what the long-term solution looks like, and given that the game is still in such an early stage, we'll just have to wait and see what happens over the coming months after its official release. But I'm curious to know what you think about the divide that appears to be coming between the pubbing experience in Tribes and the competitive side of the game. Do you think it's healthy for competition to be held on a distinct version of the game that's going to be inherently less accessible to casual players? Let me know your take in the comments below. Hope you enjoyed the commentary. As always, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.